Hello everybody, it's Lazel here with another Magic the Gathering video. Today I want to talk about probably my most favorite Golgari commander in EDH. I'm talking about Jarad, Golgari Lich Lord. He costs 2 black, 2 green, is a 2/2 legendary zombie elf creature, and says Jarad Golgari Lich Lord gets +1/+1 for each creature card in your graveyard. He has 2 activated abilities. For 1 generic, 1 black and 1 green you can sacrifice another creature, and each opponent loses life equal to the sacrificed creature's power. Sacrifice a swamp and a forest and return Jarad from your graveyard to your hand. So here's how we are going to win the game. We will be flinging the most high power creatures in Magic the Gathering at our opponent's faces. Starting off with Lord of Extinction, Mortivore, Night Howler, who I personally think is really cool because you can bestow it onto another creature that you already have on the field. That creature gets +X/+X, where X is the number of creature cards in all graveyards. Then you fling that creature at your opponent's face, and you follow it up by also flinging Night Howler. Fighter Titan, in my opinion, is also really cool because he is a 7/2 who says when Fighter Titan dies, return it to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control at the beginning of his or her next upkeep. This allows you to constantly keep flinging Fighter Titan at your opponent's faces for 7 each turn. We also got an interesting creature with Necrogoyf, who says Necrogoyf's power is equal to the number of creature cards in all graveyards, and at the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player discards a card. This is great because a lot of these creatures here synergize with their opponent's graveyards, so we want to fill them up by making players either discard or mill their library. And last but not least, you can also play Giant Ediphage, who on combat damage creates a token that's a copy of Giant Ediphage. It's a 7/7 trample who I think is really cool in this deck because there are multiple ways of winning the game, and also creating a bunch of tokens is really threatening. So which cards do support us by filling up our opponent's graveyards? For example, Mesmeric Orb, a 2-mana artifact that says whenever a permanent becomes untapped, that permanent's controller mills a card. This also counts for us, so it's a good base, for example, for our Lord of Extinction. Another great card, in my opinion, is Mindcrank. Whenever an opponent loses life, that player mills that many cards. Just imagine flinging a 30/30 Lord of Extinction at your opponent's faces. They lose 30 life and they also have to mill 30 cards. How do we get access to all of our creatures? We will put them into our graveyard by cards, for example with Buried Alive, Entomb, or also the on-cast trigger from Old Stick Fingers, who will also become quite a big creature depending on how many creature cards we have in our graveyard. Getting those creatures back to the battlefield is no problem because we are in black, so we play Reanimate, Animate Dead. The attack trigger from Drana, the Last Bloodchief, is also great because we get a non-legendary creature card from our graveyard back to the battlefield that the defending player has to choose. So we can fling our Lord of Extinction first main phase, attack with Drana. Our opponent is forced to bring this one back to our battlefield if we don't have any other creature cards in our graveyard, and then we can fling it again. Followed by Victimize, for example. We also got Dread Return or Ever After, which is a pretty neat reanimation spell. Some of these synergies require a lot of mana, so of course we do also ramp with cards like Search for Tomorrow, Rampant Growth, Cultivate, Death Sprout, who also kills a creature while looking for a basic land card that you can put onto the battlefield tapped. We also got the second chapter of Binding the Old Gods, which can destroy a target non-land permanent an opponent controls on the first chapter, and on the second chapter you can search your library for a false card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, and then you shuffle your library. And on the third chapter, creatures you control gain Death Touch until end of turn. So overall we got some removal combined with some ramp synergies. And my personal all-time favorite in this deck is Traverse the Outlands, a 5-mana sorcery that says search a library for up to X basic land cards where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. Put those cards onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Just imagine if you have a really bad creature on the battlefield and you make it to really resolve this spell and you get like 15 basic land cards out of your deck. The only thing that you will be drawing is pure gas because you got all of the lands out of the way and you got resources for days. Depending on how fast you get all of this going, you will be threat number 1 and your opponents will try to remove your creatures. Of course, you also play reaction like Malakir Rebirth. Rushed Rebirth, in my opinion, a really cool card that says choose target creature. When that creature dies this turn, search a library for a creature card with lesser mana value, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. So you can always keep looking for some neat interactions out of your deck and find the creature that you really need at this moment. Of course, you will lose a creature, but you will get one back in return. Also, we got Momentous Fall, so your opponent wants to kill your Lord of Extinction, Fine by you. In response, you just sacrifice it with this spell, you draw cards equal to the sacrificed creature's power, and you also gain life equal to its toughness. Just imagine with Lord of Extinction. Of course, you play Heroic Intervention. Infuse with Vitality. For a common, I think this card is also pretty cool, because until end of turn, target creature gains Death Touch, and when this creature dies, return it to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control. You also gain 2 life. So you go for a safe trade, or you just get your creature back and you also gain some life. Last but not least, there are a lot of different cards in black, for example like Ashnod's Intervention that says, until end of turn, target creature gets +2/+0 and gains. When this creature dies or is put into exile from the battlefield, return it to its owner's hand. Great card, and there are a lot of cards like this that will bring your creature back to the battlefield. So you can play this defensively, or you can also play it offensively when you say, okay, I will cast this onto my Lord of Extinction, for example. You sacrifice it with Jarad, Lord of Extinction gets back to the battlefield, and you fling it again. You're afraid of not drawing enough cards? Play cards like Greater Good, that gives you an instant speed sacrifice outlet to draw even more cards and fill up your graveyard. Garruk's Uprising is great in this deck. When it enters the battlefield, if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, draw a card. Creatures you control have trample, that's what you want in this deck. And whenever a creature with power 4 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. This is a must-have in this deck. Followed by Life's Legacy. You are in a bad spot, you only have one creature on the field and you really need to draw some gas. Sacrifice it with Life's Legacy and draw cards equal to the sacrificed creature's power. Of course you run Return of the Wild Speaker. Instant, choose one. Draw cards equal to the greatest power among non-human creatures you control. Or, if you need the finishing blow, non-human creatures you control get +3/+3 until end of turn. Last but not least, of course you play Rishkar's Expertise. 6 mana sorcery, draw cards equal to the greatest power among creatures you control. You may cast a spell with mana value 5 or less from your hand without paying its mana cost. Great card, this is what you want to play. If you resolve it and you have a big creature on the field, you draw 15 cards and you're good to go. You want to win more? You get it. Essence Harvest. If there's this one player that you really need to take out right away and then you still want to fling your creature, play Essence Harvest. Target player loses X life and you gain X life, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. Cast this, and afterwards you fling your Lord of Extinction and you're good to go. Overwhelming Stampede. Of course, until end of turn, creatures you control gain trample and get +X/+X, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. All you need is a few giant ediphages on the field, and then you maybe also have your Lord of Extinction. You cast this card and you can hit everybody and win with combat damage. If you can resolve the combo of Mind Crank and once flinging Lord of Extinction at your opponents, just cast Living Death and get all of their creature cards back. With all of the ramping that we did with Traverse the Outlands, you can also just cast Exsanguinate, and each opponent loses X life, you gain life equal to the life lost this way. In this video I just covered a few synergies that I think are really cool with Jarad. If you enjoyed this video, let me know down in the comments below, and if there are any other interesting cool synergies with Jarad, also let us know down in the comments below so we can all build this great Golgari commander. If you want me to feature any commander of your choice, let me know down in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed this video. See you in the next one. Goodbye guys.